must be expected to do so. Call the meeting to order, and we'll say our pledge together. It's actually right here. Can you see it? Attention, salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the south. Thank you. Welcome to our monthly meeting. We are here to accomplish the business of school for the sake of our students. We absolutely want to hear from our citizens, and there is a time for public comment prior to our action items on the agenda. We ask speakers to identify themselves and their district. We also ask that your comments are limited to 3 minutes. In order to provide equity to all speakers and to ensure our meeting is reasonable in length. If you have more information than can be summarized in 3 minutes, please leave behind materials for the board's review. The moderator will ask you to conclude your remarks as time has elapsed. If you have questions during the session, you may ask for clarification from your school board member or an administrator after the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming. We have a motion concerning the agenda for this evening. We have to amend the agenda. I've lost one.
It's right there on your
Right, my sticky note.
Right.
Where did I put it?
it's on your
There it is. 8.4. So if you look at your agenda, 8.4 is an additional action item. And it is the regional SPED program, which we'll hear about during superintendent's remarks. So it is a document which will have to be voted on and signed. 8.4.
We need a motion to do this.
So we have to have a motion to adopt the agenda as modified. We have a motion, Ms. Bond. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Grove. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. So ordered. Report of the student liaison.
The other part.
Mic malfunction, so we're going to share.
Is it on? Can you test it out for us? Make sure everybody can hear you.
Alright. That's good now. Maybe not.
Hey,
Yeah,
take
I
it
already-
out. Hold it
Guys,
like, hold it like a
you can
rock
take-
star.
alright.
There you go.
Alright, how are you guys?
Good.
Alright, so I'll get started with so for NHS, we had the inductions April 1st, and 14 new members were inducted. That's actually a lot than last time. Seniors returned from a trip to Boston today. From the pictures, you guys probably saw they had a really good time. They went to Salem, they visited a few museums, they went on a duck tour. For class fundraisers, the class of 2023 is having a car wash and a bake sale on April 27th. And the class of 2022 had one this Saturday, the 6th. The musical performance of Chicago will be held on the weekend of the 27th and 28th, so that's exciting. We have a lot of games this week for spring sports, and then the senior award ceremony where they will be receiving their scholarships will be on May 1st. Recently we've been having the life skills workshop during Flex, so students have been able to partake in dining etiquette, cooking skills, resume, writing tips, really learn about that. But overall, not a whole lot going on because of spring break coming up.
Any questions? Any questions for Scott? Thank you. All right, donations.
Okay.
It's still not on.
I think it's testing, and it's on.
It's on, it's just very
I think it's on with the volume.
crank it up. Hold your ears.
No, not that was something.
Well, it is.
It's working, it's just very low.
Hello, hello.
Where'd it go? No, it's back here. Oh, it's right now.
Testing.
That's a little better.
Yes.
Keep going.
It's getting scary. That's probably good. We'll say that's good, huh?
I think that's too buzzy for
That's
it. It's
too loud now.
tinnitus, so.
It's not really coming out of this one, is it? Can you hear
It
it?
is, it's
We'll
coming
just
out.
have to talk loud. Teacher voices today.
But the buzz is making it.
There you go.
You got a lot of back.
Mr. Gira is not here today,
I know,
so this is
exactly.
why we're having.
His sound system that he just got.
I'm just gonna talk really loud. and hopefully-
Test 1, 2.
Yeah, like
Yours is
Test, test, test.
I think
What's
not
working?
this one.
I don't
think
know how
that's-
you turned it on. Is it on?
Is it on?
He's ports.
Mine's on. This one works.
That
You
is
wanna share
really
this?
on.
I'll trade you.
Do you want to use this one? This one is really loud.
It might be better if we have a loud one over here.
Yeah, that would be really good. Switch them.
I do it. Let me go.
I apologize, sorry.
Yeah, if we switch them off, yours will
Yeah, you use yours.
Yeah.
There you go. Put that one here for
That's
there you
reach
go.
out.
Or up on the podium.
Yeah, or. Sorry.
Thank you. Donations.
Okay, I have a long list of donations to read. Headwaters donated $1,600 for the Quiz Bowl. The Rappahannock Lions Club donated $500 for the Quiz Bowl. Lilo Wolf donated $100 to the Quiz Bowl. The Rappahannock Lions Club donated $410 for the baseball flagpole. Tracy Eisenman donated $100 for student lunch accounts in need. Kelly McGee donated $152.70 for student lunch accounts in need. Hal Hunter donated $5,000 for students in need. And the following, I'm just going to read the name and the amount. The rest are for the after prom party. Costco in Winchester donated a $25 gift card. Mountain Run Bowling donated a bowling package. The Wharf donated an 8-visit pass. Robert Barrett donated a $20 gift card to Tropical Smoothie. Wayne and Dana Dotson donated $50 for the Mountain Pot gift card. Valley Eye Clinic donated $50. McClanahan Camera donated a frame mat and a photo print. Beach Spring Gift Shop donated a jewelry makeup case and a headband. The Marriott Ranch donated a $200 gift certificate. Anthony and Stephanie Hawkins donated $25. TD&D Unlimited donated 2 $25 Regal gift cards along with $100. Knackles Bakery donated 1 dozen donuts. The Taste of India donated a $20 gift certificate. Scoop and Davis donated a $10 gift certificate. Glen Hill United Methodist Church donated $100. Fathom Creative donated $100. MAD donated an art photo project table and supplies. CNC Frozen Treats donated 4 $10 gift certificates. Megan Lee donated a wood sign. Brandy Knighting donated a cup. B&B Service Center donated 2 state inspections. Let's Get Personal donated a $45 gift certificate, and an anonymous donor donated snacks.
Thank you. And we'll accept donations officially during the consent agenda. Moving on to the adoption of the minutes. There are 2 sets of minutes here. And I think Ms. Bynum is going to be making some modifications to the 312 minutes, right?
Yes, the 312.
And they're not documented yet, right?
Right.
So here's what I think, Board, that we're going to have to do. The motion that we should entertain is the acceptance of the March 19th minutes. And the March 12th minutes are going to have to wait until Ms. Bynum has a chance to work with our clerk to clarify them, and then we'll vote on them next time we meet. We can't vote on them if they're not written down for us.
Okay.
Yep. So the adoption then would be for the minutes of the March 19th session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
A motion, Mr. Rose, or second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Meyer. Is there any comments on that set of minutes? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. And you 2 ladies will work that
Yes.
one out, and we'll see that at the next meeting. Yes. Okay. And that was, there was a question related to the details. In case you're wondering, the details related to 7.1.
Right.
It was details.
Yeah, it was in 7.1, I had spoken about a courtyard project, not an outdoor classroom project, that's being privately funded, and that there is need for some maintenance in the courtyard ahead of that project's commencement. And
So it's those details. And we'll straighten those details out before we,
But it's not, I wasn't asking for school board funding of a project, it's a private project.
that's good to be clear. Just
Saved us a lot of money.
No, you see, what hell Hunter, he's got it.
Mr. Grove, did you have opportunity to verify?
I did, and everything looks fine.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion, Mr. Grove, is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Bonham, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a special presentation tonight regarding the VSBA art contest. VSBA is the Virginia School Board Association, and every year we participate in a contest as a school division, and it's an art contest, and it's very competitive. It's very competitive because the art teachers have to select kind of the creme de la creme, the best artwork in the schools to submit, because we as a school division can only submit 2. We don't have a middle school. If we had a middle school, we could submit a middle school piece too, but it's not by grade levels, it's by site. So the elementary school gets 1 to send off, and the high school gets 1 to send off. So the art teachers do this. They select 3 of their top pieces from each school, and they send them up to a panel to be judged blindly. We don't know who did them, and then we select the top out of those 3. And then we send them off to the VSBA contest, and then they're judged by a panel of experts at the VSBA contest. So we would like to recognize the students, and as you came in, you probably saw this wonderful artwork over here that they had produced, and it's incredible. In fact, one of them actually placed at VSBA, which has never happened before, and I bet if we actually got to participate in the middle school bracket, it would have got first. I don't doubt that at all. So at this time, we have the sheet up here. We'll recognize these kiddos for their wonderful work,
And we'll get a picture of them.
and we'll get pictures. Yay! All right, well, first I'd like to recognize the student that won 3rd place at the VSBA art contest, and this has never happened. We've never had this place, so Virginia Reinhold, please come up.
You want to hold her piece of art?
Oh, yeah, they are.
She did the wonderful fox here.
Yeah,
You hold her art.
Yeah, she-
There you go, she's got it.
Got it.
And the parents will get to take them home unless you want to give it to me, and then I can.
And you can take it.
What did you, how did you
Did
do
her,
pastel actually.
hey, did her father get a chance to get a picture? Did you get a chance to get a picture? Come back over.
We'll send
No
you
post
this if
for
you'd
you.
like. We'll send you.
That's good, thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah, you want to get a
Do you want to get a picture?
Do you want to be this?
Yeah, get it.
Get it, Mom.
Sure. Hey,
Let's get mom and dad. We're all about pictures. These are great. Come on.
Get mom and dad in there.
This is for you.
this is a big deal.
This is a secret deal.
There.
All right, that's a good picture. There you go.
Thank you. That's great. I wonder if we could work a deal where that could hang like in the library, at the public library for a month or so.
I know someone that knows someone on the board. That would love for me. Okay, so I would like to recognize now the piece of artwork from the elementary school that was submitted to VSBA. And although it didn't place, we thought it was definitely worthy of that competition. Claire Kaiser. part of the contest, we actually professionally framed the art. However, the fox was already really nicely framed, so we didn't see that part. All right, Mom, Dad. All right, next, another piece of artwork that was sent up to the judging panel for the district, Beth Barron. This just blows my mind. I could never do this. Great job. I'm like, you don't think you're gonna.
Beth, can you put it up so we can see your feet?
Oh, cool.
So
About 600 so long back.
And last but not least, my buddy Everett for your submission. I love your caboodle nonsense.
Yeah, that's all.
Hold that up proudly, but not over your face.
Yeah.
all right, ready? 1, 2, 3. Very nice.
You guys want to get up there?
Family?
Sure, get your brother up there.
Plan.
Get your brother up there.
Give me your phone and I'll take a picture for you.
Oh, it's only half up. No, we don't want to be in the picture.
Smile.
All right.
So, yeah. Next.
Make your brother smile, Dominic.
Hey, you did it.
Good job. Interesting.
And parents, you're under no obligation to stay the whole time. Of course, if you want to, you may. But on your way out, please take your artwork home. Thank you.
Great work.
Thank you so
you all.
much.
Thank you.
It's just incredible.
Hey,
We had
anyway,
one place.
it's the most fun.
It's amazing. All right, next up, I'm going to have our Executive Director of Student Support Services, Mr. Mike Tupper, get up and talk to you about CTE. We do have our Career and Technical Local Plan that is due for submission to the Department of Ed so that we receive our Perkins funding, so this is part of that process. Mr. Tupper?
Thank you, Dr. Gravely. And I just want to say, Jimmy, it's nice to see I'm not the only principal with a problem with the sound system, so it's just.
Yeah.
Following in your footsteps.
We have to deal with it.
Following in your footsteps.
I thought I had that worked out before I left.
Hey, we're all working for the record at 506.
Anyway, like Dr. Inslee said, this is the time of year where we have to submit our next year's local plan for the funding for our career. It's Perkins funding. New grant this year, they've identified it as Perkins 5, it used to be Perkins 4, and obviously there's been some changes. And obviously I came across a few of those. I'll be submitting this before April 30th, and then usually what happens, several revisions, because first of all, there's an estimated amount of money that we're going to give, which just came out this week. that will have to be updated. They generally tell you to use the last year's funding for your numbers, which I did, and that will obviously change probably by the end of this month for sure. So what I want to do is just talk about our assessment. We get assessed. For example, this year's grant will be using 19 data. This is the 19-20 grant. So what I want to do is tell you kind of where we stand, and got a little PowerPoint here that you can see that okay right now, but I did make slides so I can see it here. I got it right here, thank you. So if we could, there's several categories, and I want to show you how we stand and this is related to completers, career and tech completers who have completed a sequence of classes that we have here for each area. And so when you look at academic attainment, you see that our completers on the end of course reading and mathematics were at 100%. The Virginia agreed upon performance is at 85. Now next year, the 18-19 will be 87%. So they keep moving the bar up. We just got to keep making it. I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail as we go along. The next one is credentialing participation rate. Obviously, what we test, in fact, tomorrow we'll be testing another 65 students in the workplace readiness test, which is one credential that we have every career and tech student that we have take and hopefully pass before they leave. And of course, our participation right now is at 97.78%. In special populations, their participation was 100%. And then the passing rate for that credential was 95.45%. And the special population was 87.5. And again, the agreed upon standard was 85 and 78% respectively. I know it's a lot of numbers, folks, but as you can see, we're doing pretty well in all these areas. Completion and graduation rates. Obviously, state performance standard for that was 96.5%. And Rappahannock was at 100%. Our graduation rate, 93.5%. And Rappahannock obviously was 100%. So we exceeded that agreed upon standard. Placement rate, which is really what we like to see, what are our kids doing after they leave here. Placement rate, again, the state performance standard is 93.5. We're placing 100% of our kids. They're going to work, they're going to school, they're going in the military, and several, they're becoming workers. The response rate, we do a computer survey this year. Last year we started this, it's kind of we have our CTE teachers call their former students that have graduated to ask them questions how the career and tech program helped them get to where they are. And there's several questions. They're working on that now. You see the performance standards, we've got to at least get in touch with 75%. I'm not satisfied. I think we should be able to contact 100%. Kind of put that on Jimmy and his staff to make sure we contact every student that left our school. In addition to that, it's nice for those teachers to actually talk to their former students because it gives them some feedback on things they can improve on as well. Now this area, the next area is non-traditional. This is problematic for everybody. There are, and I'll just use Rappahannock as an example. Culinary, for example, it's non-traditional for a female to take culinary because it's a male-dominated industry. So the more females we get into culinary, that helps our non-trad numbers. So some courses are neutral, they're not male or female. So we have welding. If a female were to go into welding, that's non-traditional. So one of our problems is getting non-trads interested. We had Teach for Tomorrow this year. No males are in that. We got to change that. Again, that's up to guidance staff and teachers to convey. Hey, that's a good thing to go into. Talk a little bit more about that later. I'm excited about that program. So this is one of the areas we haven't met. You see where Rappahannock is, and we've had higher numbers than this, but last year we weren't where we needed to be. So it's a part of the problem too is what I noticed in going over the data, and I think I shared with Dr. Grimsley. We had people start non-track. We had females go into culinary and then for whatever reason decide I'm not interested and they don't complete it. And then they go into another field and complete that, which takes them away from their non-track category. And given the fact that we are a semester block and kids can take a lot of courses, they don't run the risk of not completing something. So this is an area we need to work on. Talked to DOE at great length about it. They said, yeah, we understand, but we got to keep working on it, and I agree with that. And so we got to make it a campaign to encourage non-trad participation, males in traditionally female activities and vice versa. So that gives us the indicators. There's several indicators, and 3 of them we haven't met. Now I talked about the non-trad. I didn't talk about the student competency rate because the data that went into the report was wrong. It was a validation mistake on our end. Called DOE about it and said, I'd like to fix that because I know we were at 100% because we were at 100% the last 2 years. And they said, I'm sorry, we can't change the data now. I said, okay, well, when I submit next year's report, I'm going to let you know what the reason. They said, that's fine. So the good thing is we're all learning a little bit. We've got a validation program now for our school, which helps us identify the spots that are mistaken and correct the data. So hopefully that will be better next time. And I'd like to think that we can reach the non-trad plateau as well. So on the next slide, you'll see that those are the 3 areas that we're going to focus on. Again, it's guidance has to be a big part of that, and students finding interest. I really want to work on why they start something and they don't complete it. It's hard to force a student into something they don't like. You just can't do that. But there may be some other reasons why they do that. I'd like to find those out. So some of the goals, we're going to continue to hold career interview simulations. I think that's a valuable thing, something that we've been doing for some time now. I don't think you can put a price tag on a child actually going through an interview process with somebody they've never seen before, instead of waiting till the first time it happens when they're needing to get that job. So this is a valuable thing. We're going to continue to do that. The CTE department works hard with the community to bring people in to share with students, their careers and what they like. The other thing is the Career Expo, which Dr. Grimsley was kind of on the ground floor with all the other directors in the area back a couple of years ago. It's been 3-4 years now, hasn't it? Yeah. That program has gotten on. It gets better every year, and so all the 7th graders will attend that again. And again, it's a hands-on opportunity, and that's going to inspire students to take career tech courses. We're going to encourage, obviously, non-traditional completion. Try to provide additional certifications. Obviously, we have our health CNA program, but we're always looking for other things. And what I'm really excited about, one, is the Teach for Tomorrow program. We're going to have a level 2, which means there'll be a completer sequence. The group that worked this year were fantastic. Big help to the elementary school. And this introduction to the new cybersecurity fundamentals course, I am totally excited about that. I mean, we're not the only school division doing it. I looked at Prince William's, actually Scott Slaughter shared with me, not Prince William, but Loudoun County's program, and they have, of course, 50 courses in cybersecurity. But you have to understand what I've learned about cybersecurity. Obviously, the fundamentals course is the best thing, but cybersecurity covers all aspects of industry. Whatever you're working in, there's something dealing with cyber. So this is a real world. And when you look at the job opportunities for individuals, it just blows me away. And we're in the area where it's most needed. When you look at the cluster needs, Northern Virginia area, which we're part of, there's a lot of opportunity. The key is, and I was told this several years ago as well, that FBI and CI, they're looking for people, and the key is you've got to get to the middle school age kids and keep your nose clean, because that security clearance is very important. So again, this is an exciting opportunity, and of course we'll have a completer sequence with that next year. So I'm excited to see the numbers that come out of that. Obviously, we'll continue to collaborate with the community, meet with them regularly. RapU has been a big part of our scene now. We'll continue to do that. They've been nothing but supportive. Project-based learning and performance tasks are always going to be a big part of what we do in career and tech. We'll keep expanding our computer community partnerships, and we need your continued support of the career and tech program. And the only other thing I will say is that, again, I'm getting on my soapbox, I'm sorry. You're all keeping time, aren't you? No, but it goes without saying, I'm excited. The career in tech, we talk about college, and that's important, I know it. But folks, people got to start learning how to build and put things together again. We start making things, you make things and you sell things, it creates wealth. That's how it works. So we've got to get back to that, because we've got some really creative people out there, as we can see today with the artwork and so forth. So I think that's all I have to say. If there's any questions.
Yeah, I was just reminded of a conversation I just had with my dad, who took, just like I did in middle school, a survey class when we were in 7th grade. Like, I made a coat rack that I still have, and I made a pillow that my son sleeps with. And that survey of beginning, like, I wouldn't have thought that I would be good at carpentry or enjoy carpentry. Now I have a job that includes that. And that survey of actual hands-on making something in a trade might help with some of that crossover you're talking about, because girls are great at building and boys are great at teaching. But something in general, there are a lot of girls who are. But I think that maybe that first exposure, beyond a one-day thing, but a little while where you can do a project, everybody can sew something, everybody can. That's just as I remember my.
That's what got you excited. Yeah.
Told me about that.
Is there an option to put together we call it an exploratory in my world, where a class of 20 or 15, whatever, over the period of a quarter, spent 2 weeks in industrial arts, 2 weeks in sewing, or 2 weeks in something else, and it was an exploratory class in grade 7, 6 and 7, basically. But I don't know whether that's possible to do or not.
We're starting a few things through the profile of the graduate team right along those lines. We're doing career talks with different career experts to come in. Some of them do bring hands-on pieces to show. But we are working to getting those conversations happening a lot earlier, and the hands-on piece is critical. Like the WOW Expo is all designed around having hands-on experiences with the career clusters to really understand and give some context to what that field even entails. So that's right. So we're continuing to build on that idea, because we have to come up with academic career plans that are enacted and supposed to guide the whole trajectory throughout your second year of college, should you choose to go. So if we're starting that in 6th grade with these surveys, aptitude testing, which we are doing now, and now that the SOLs have kind of peeled back with the verified credits that we need in high school, we're left with an awesome opportunity to now do more of the exploration piece and guide those academic career plans, so that students can really choose something and not just be so bogged down with all the prereqs they need for college. They can do those too, But now they have opportunity to do other things that they love in the career and tech field and really build up stackable credentials that then help them go to work. So that's kind of our goal, to get toward that in more depth.
When I was talking about it, it was I don't know whether it was the same thing you
It's the
did, I
same
know
thing, yeah.
something we did. It was required of every kid. You took an exploratory block, and that exploratory block moved you
From
as a group
Yeah.
from one discipline to another, and you spent some time,
We did industrial
Doing it.
arts,
yeah,
Culinary
art,
arts,
industrial
college.
art, the kinds of things that kids can choose when they get into grade 8, grade 9, and take for a whole semester, that kind of. And it's just a requirement of every 7th grader to take an exploratory class
home
and
economics.
put them together, as a block.
It's an interesting concept and one that we should look at for as we're building those academic career plans and then the feasibility of what we, of course, can offer here and what we have instructors to do. But with our partnership with Rappahannock, a lot more can probably be possible now. So
Sure.
that's a great conversation to continue to have along those lines. Absolutely.
I would really promote that.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's true that people aren't getting as much exposure
And
to
you don't need
building
certification
stuff or
to teach
teaching
that.
at home.
You know, I mean, the certification, it didn't matter, because there was no credits given, and whatever.
Yeah,
You
so
you didn't need to be an industrial arts teacher, to teach the concepts of what we're doing.
The only other thing I'll say is just a shout out to the staff. Our career tech staff is dynamite. They're professionals. They're good at what they do. You all, if you step in their class, you can learn something before you get out of there. It's just amazing what they do and continue to do. So we want to work to keep them, because again, it's an area in the teaching field. It's hard to come by good instructors. So anyway. Thank you so much for letting me present tonight. Good to see everybody. And I like the new setup. It was nice. It reminds me of the old days.
And Chris over here all by himself. So I guess being well, you're at the foot.
Thanks.
All right, moving right along, we have Dr. Robin Bolt, who's going to come and present the changes and updates to the new tech plan.
Hello, I give Mike a hard time that I do it because I just love his passion. Whatever he's doing, he gets passionate. And
But
really,
you are going to give him feedback tomorrow.
I just give him a hard time because it's so much fun to give him a hard time too. I'm here to show that you have a copy of the PDF of our tech plan for our 5-year plan. So what happened is 2 years ago, the state decided they were changing their technology plan, so we had to do a 2-year plan, which we did. Then we had to, starting next year, model our technology plan after this Department of Education plan. So I'm just here to give you highlights of our technology plan. So I want to start off with our members, and I'd like to thank everyone. I'm not going to read every name, but especially to the students and teachers. And I was mentioning this at our book club today about how much input we got from our students, that they really had input and a different insight than a teacher or administrator or a parent would have. So I think it was beneficial to reach out to different people to have them included in our tech plan. Highlights, we wanted to create a STEAM lab at the elementary school, which we're almost there. We've got the equipment. Bethany Bostic, as part of her internship, has been leading that. We've been working together, and it's coming. We want to create a maker's lab at the high school. And I've talked to Jimmy and Scott Salsher about that, and one of the things in there is actually constructing things and just tinkering and seeing what they're interested in. See the smart board behind the monitor? Those are kind of outdated now, and this actually came input from the students. That's the touchscreen monitors where you don't even have a projector, it's all touchscreen monitor. We're going to start transitioning to them as the smart boards and the projectors go. Excuse me?
I read the whole thing.
Yeah.
I read that. Smart.
Well, they're past the prime now. I put them in 10 years ago when I came. You know, most of them went in then, and so they're starting to break. So rather than replace them, we're going to go with a touchscreen monitor that allows 10 students at a time to be up there, and it's just more interactive and more, excuse me,
21st century.
21st century. We gotta keep changing, keep up with what's going on. Provide and maintain a 1-to-1 ratio, and we don't let the students take them home because it's expensive. A lot of our students don't even have internet at home. So we know that in each classroom, a student has a device. Pre-K and kindergarten have iPads. And then 2nd through 12, they either have Chromebooks or laptops. And it's a mixture of both. And our webpage, I'm pretty adamant that we're ADA compliant. And I think Holly can attest to that because I tell her if something isn't, because I run a check on it to see. Like you have to, we need to be. And that's about it. So mine's sweet and to the point, and I am passionate, just not as passionate as Michael Tupper is. Do y'all have any questions?
So those boards, those touching, the screens that are touch, those things are considerably more expensive than.
Not when you
smart
combine
boards.
the cost of the smart boards are running about $2,000 for one, about that, without the speakers or the built-in, just the board.
Yeah.
And then we probably got another $600-700 in the projection and the cabling and the time it takes to install. And I actually got I think it was a Mitsubishi touch board that I'm having a teacher try out to elementary school with a document camera, all the cabling, and it was $2,800.
So it's very,
It's very competitive, and it's different technology, and more students can touch it at one time. The most you can get on a smart board, I think, is 3, and that ups the price. So
So those are all sort of like this portable?
they would be wall mounted,
They're wall mounted, okay.
and so and it came with the mounting hardware also. So they're very comparable in
that's one way you
price.
can do with the old ones.
Well,
I wouldn't want them.
we're going to use them until they break. And then as we redo classrooms, that's what we'll replace them with. So the plan is I will start, yes, sir. I mean, there's no sense in getting rid of something that's working. But the idea is to start, and the idea came from a student because Scott Stevens has one. And she said it's incredible. He uses it, the kids use it, and I went in and checked it out. It's amazing. So I've got the elementary trying it out to see if this is the way we want to put this brand.
And the Maker Lab, can you talk about what I would find if I walked in a Maker Lab?
Well, we're hoping you would find in the future. So it's more at the high school level. Part of it is construction, where you would have wood and workbenches where kids could actually create. There would be laser printers where they could actually create 3D. Well, no, laser and 3D. Laser is where they would take a piece of metal and they would do a design, and for that design they would break it. And then 3D printer is they design something and then they can actually make it 3D. Trying to think of what else, but it's
Because I
more.
had some ideas for that, things that are good, useful skills.
And I would be welcome to go through the process now. The idea was to get this year, beginning of the fall, finish up the elementary school and then move to the high school. So that hopefully after we can work on it and have it done for second semester. And the idea is to, with the ITRT and our teacher leaders, which I forgot this whole thing, I'm sorry. The technology teacher leaders, I skipped over. But with those leaders is to help them get lesson plans for the teachers to go and take their students in there. So say a English class is doing To Kill a Mockingbird. Then they can go into the Makers Lab, create artwork that illustrates whatever part they're illustrating. Then they can actually put it on in a 3D or put it in so that brings it to life. So they're learning the skills.
And do you think the STEM lab is to start off in the fall?
Well, we're hoping to start after spring break to get people in there to start. We did training at our PD day for the teachers. I was actually able to get ITRTs from Culpeper.
Yeah.
6 to come in and do training for our elementary school teachers, all hands-on of equipment that we have, so they would know how to use them. And I think our ITRT is actually going to be housing them a couple hours every morning to assist teachers however they can. So that's the hope.
Yeah, and And I, at some point, love to talk about the idea of extending the STEM lab out into the courtyard, and we can, hopefully we'll be able to have that plan ready to talk about. what the
And that's all part of the plan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else?
Thank you, Dr. Bull.
All right, thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, we've been giving you some little tidbits of information along this journey about children's savings accounts, which is a really novel project to Virginia. And something we think we could really pilot and get off the ground and be pioneers in that field. So I've invited back Ann Yeoman, who's been helping in a huge way, I shouldn't say helping, kind of being the driving force behind and pulling together all the research and all the pieces and making all of those moving pieces kind of work together in our context. And it's coming along very well, so I'm very excited to have her share where we are.
Actually, before I start, we have a couple of other members of our team back there, Rosa Crocker and Alexia Morrison. Moral support.
Yeah.
So this will be a good deal shorter than when I spoke to you before, because when I spoke to you before, it was a whole new concept for the board, and there were a lot of things. And there are still many things that are not decided. This is still very much an evolving project. There are a lot of decisions that need to be made, but we have made a great deal of progress. So one thing that has not changed is what the basic vision is that every kid who graduates will have a plan for the future, and it really tracks the career and college prep mandates. They will have financial capacity, which is not just, oh, I know I should balance my checkbook. It's that they actually have some savings, they actually have some sense of how the financial world works. And they'll have the academic and personal skills to actually pursue them, whatever their life plan is, whether it's an academic course or immediately employment and so forth. And I was very interested in the CTE stuff, there's a lot of connections there. So the goals, again, have not changed, the basic goals, except that we've come up with a name for the accounts. So we're not calling them children's savings accounts because we get confused with community-supported agriculture and a lot of other things. So we're calling them My Future Account. I hope you like it. So that every student is offered an account beginning in kindergarten. Every student is actively preparing for financial independence with age-appropriate activities, again aligning with what the schools already will be doing, some of the kinds of things that have been mentioned tonight. Every student will have those skills, and the skills we're talking about generally are under the heading of what's called social emotional learning. So it's not just about being able to do the math problems or writing a coherent English sentence or something. It's also about the kinds of skills that you need in the workplace, you need personally, you need academically, but in the sense of setting goals, deferring certain kinds of things in order to get a different and higher outcome. Handling challenges, those kinds of things is the kind of skills we're focused on. And then the last goal, which we've always had, which has become much, much more important to us as we've been continuing to talk in the community, which is that every child's family has the opportunity to build and apply financial decision-making skills. So this was there before, but I'm going to talk a little more later. It has become much, much more important as we've been talking to people and listening. So just to review our key terms, custodial account, that Family Futures can call this an interest-bearing account for the benefit of the individual students. The seed deposit for that account, the initial deposit with which that account is open, every kindergarten. Incentive deposits, again, this is review from the last time, are potential additional deposits, and those deposits would be triggered by things that happen primarily in connection with school activities and so forth, although we are also interested in linking up some of those triggers with community-based activities. So let's go on. So as I said, they're custodial accounts that would be held by Family Futures. This is another thing. We now have our operating name, Family Futures. We're registered with the SEC and with the IRS. Have our EIN and so forth. So it would be open for each kindergartner with this $100 seed deposit and then from donors. And then the incentive deposits, also from donors, up to $100 per year in the year that the account is open. So the kindergartner could theoretically get up to $200. And then up to $100 every year through graduation. So they end up with a total of about $1,400 plus interest. Those are the interest-bearing accounts. Again, third parties could make deposits and so forth if they choose to. And if you recall at the last meeting, we did have some discussion about the pros and cons of these kinds of accounts versus college 529s. I'm going to speak to that a little bit more further down the road. Okay, so the way we would pay these out is they're paid after graduation for post-secondary education and training expenses. So it could be vocational training, some kind of HVAC credentialing, for example. It could be for 2-year school, 4-year school, some kind of academic track. It also could be for employment-related expenses. And this is one of the ways in which it links up very much with the CTE discussion that you just heard. There are many students we know from looking at past graduation data that go directly into employment or may already be employed at the time they graduate. And we want to figure out a way to also support those students. They may choose later to go back and do some kind of post-secondary education, that would be great. But we think that we'd like to boost them as well. So some examples, you could buy them uniforms, tools, help pay for licensing, those kinds of things. We also are aligned for the possibility, and this will be a discussion with the school system, of supporting dual enrollment before a student graduates, if that's a need. Okay, now, this is one of the areas where there's been, I mentioned before, that the adult aspect of this, the families aspect of this is one of the areas that has changed a lot. So we talk about this in 2 different ways. You probably have heard the term financial education. We've probably been exposed to using budgets, here's how you should balance your checkbook, those kinds of things. So we would at a minimum offer some sort of quarterly informational sessions for parents and community members. For example, the college 529s, explaining how those work, how you can do them, fairly easy to set up if you have the means to do that, that's great. How to do free tax filing, we have a lot of people in the community that are eligible for that and do not take advantage of it. Understanding and using credit. Another big one is going to be using alternative financial institutions, payday loans, title loans, that kind of stuff. Those topics will be partly by what we discern as local interest. Also sharing, tools that people can use. So, we have budget trackers and retirement calculators and that sort of thing. But the more important piece about the financial education is not financial education. In the example I use is, we know we should meet the benchmarks, but we do. Right? We know we should live within our budgets, but we don't necessarily always do that, and we use too much credit and that sort of thing. Financial coaching is a different approach. Financial coaching isn't, here's what you should do. Financial coaching starts with one-on-one with individuals, not group sessions. Basically saying, what is your priority? What is your concern? And working from there to how to get there. Okay? Very much driven by the individual. And it's not fast necessarily, but it's very important that it's the individual's goal or the household's goal. I want to get out of debt. I want to, maybe I want to start an emergency savings account. The goals could vary a lot. How do I get there? But it's very much one-on-one. We are committed to, we've been getting all the information together, we really want to provide certified financial coaches. At least one, preferably more, and who really do have a nationally recognized certification in financial coaching. There are several very good programs that are available around the country. So we're talking with these different entities about how to get the certification, and we'll be looking for who might be the certified person here in Rappahannock County. So that's something we'll be looking for very soon in terms of interest for people. And also as a little bit of job creation as well.
So these adult services, are they for families of students at school or just anybody in Rappahannock County?
We originally were thinking of families of students, but we've expanded it to
We've expanded it
anyone.
to anyone.
The difficulty will be the communications outside of the schools and getting to
It'll be
those.
centered at the school, but not
Right.
necessarily.
It'll be easier, I mean, obviously we'll be coordinating with the schools in terms of messaging and that sort of thing. It'll be harder to get to those other groups. The other thing about that is, as I think we all recognize, there are some number of individuals and households who are reluctant to engage in this kind of discussion. And it will take some time to get some trust and get people to make an initial connection and decide if that's comfortable. So that's not, it's not going to be revealed that they'll come.
Quick, yeah.
So-
So if someone transfers to a different school or starts to homeschool, they can still.
As long as they're a resident in the county. At this
I'm
point,
just curious.
if we had infinite resources, it'd be even bigger. It's not likely to happen. Anyway. But that is an excellent question. It is a way in which we have really expanded our thinking about this. And part of it is because the research shows that we know the kids are going to go home and talk to their parents about things that they may not have talked to them before. But, and we also know that right now there are parents in households that don't use the financial supports that are available now. For example, helping to fill out the FAFSA and things like that. So it's a way to draw them in, but it's also a way to really recognize you have to meet people where they are and what their goals are. So we have made, this is one of the areas in which we've made a lot of progress. We are well on our way to being a recognized 501. We had not originally wanted to do that, but it seems like given the kind of focus that we have and the fact that this is a very long-term intensive project, this is the way to go. So we have board members who have a lot of community experience with education and children's services. We have the school superintendent as an advisory member. There will also be a broader kind of advisory council that would draw on parents, school staff, various kinds of community partners. We don't want to go too far out on putting that together until we have some of the other more solid infrastructure pieces together. And then, of course, there are a lot of key partners and other stakeholders that have an interest in our students and their progress. So just to clarify what Family Futures would do is our responsibility. We receive and manage the funds that will be used for services and the savings. We open the accounts, and this is links up to Robin's comments. Get reports from the schools in particular about the students that are hitting those triggers that would have been discussed with the schools and agreed on with the schools, being able to accept that information and therefore triggering for deposits. So we deposit the incentives, generate statements for the kids, so they go to the kids, and then of course monitor the whole financial and operational process for management and evaluation. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And of course organize the adult financial education and coaching. Sources of funds, this is not, something that's not changed in the last discussion. We have individual donors, financial institutions, foundations, civic groups, and return on invested funds. I think you may recall from my last presentation, it would not be wise to jump out there with this project if we didn't have 5 years in the bank, because you're making a long-term promise. That would mean we would have funds that are not immediately needed to be expended so we could invest them. So it's part of the design from the beginning to be able to have invested funds and keep, of course, building those funds so that we can keep this going indefinitely. And then what we're using for, of course, the savings, the financial coach, and the various operational costs. So our next steps, we finish our 501, working on the forms now. Continues securing pledges, which we have funding pledges. Contract for a fundraising plan, so that we're pretty sure where we're going. And then the data collection and evaluation plan, and this is another, the link to Robin, to Carroll School, and so forth. We really need to know before we start, what's the data that's going to be important? What are the things that we're going to measure? What do we agree on are the short term, not wait 13 years. What are going to be the short term and middle term kinds of measures? and what kind of data will we need to actually track those. We'll need that for a variety of reasons. One, are we doing anything? Is it having a positive effect? But also we'll need to report to funders and those kinds of things. So we have identified software that is very robust, that coordinates, that can import information from PowerSchool that the system, your system is already using, but also can import data from the financial institutions, so that we were able to marry this up using an individual's, a unique student identifier that's not the school number and it's not the bank account number. Okay. We need some Chinese walls there for confidentiality and that sort of thing. We need to get the financial coach trained, identified and trained. We need to develop the website and communications plan, and the idea, part of the idea there is to have the students compete with the graphic design, or really, and we have our own graphic here, but to compete for, to come up with a design for the project and help us design the website and that sort of thing. So right now we just have a landing page under construction. Let's see. Oh, there was also validation, which was mentioned earlier, and that's another piece of this, I'm sorry, I skipped over this, of the data collection plan. It is important from the beginning that the data that we collect is something that we can validate and something that we will be able to follow for a while. These are not easy things to do, and so we have identified people who have worked in the field, who are researchers, who will be able to work with the application, what the school system is doing in terms of its benchmarks and criteria, what we'll be doing in terms of savings. So it's important to begin. We need to execute some agreements with key partners, some of whom we've identified, some are yet to work that out. So that's sort of where we've come, and it's a pretty long way. And something I didn't know when I had to send Shannon the slides, which is, if you want to know more, you can go to info at, it's not on the slide because we didn't have it yesterday. Really, no, yesterday afternoon we got info at family-futures.org. So if anybody wants to find out more, ask Shannon, ask WS.
So if that's a surprise to anybody, if there's anything that you're hearing for the first time about this, the first question we had months ago when you first came to this, what, and maybe before that was, well, people can do a 529, why are we doing this thing, right? The 529 is for parents that take the initiative to start the 529. This is for every kindergartner in Rappahannock County, yeah?
Or every kindergartner in the public schools.
Public school.
If we have enough funding, we would love to extend it to the homeschoolers and other students.
So not only the education around this, and the life plan around this, but also every student will have one instantiated and start to be able to build that.
Right, so it's not tied to the family's economic status or opportunities, that sort of thing. But having the money isn't the only reason people don't do 529s. Some people don't do 529s because it's just too complicated.
It is complicated.
It's scary.
And even getting to it's complicated. Because I've tried.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I can help you with that.
Well, I need education, right? So anyway, it's a great opportunity for every student. And so really exciting program.
Well, we are thrilled too, and I'll just add, if you remember, we're doing all this wonderful stuff with career exploration and showing our students hands-on experiences with career clusters, and we're showing them all these things, and then when they figure out how it is that they have to get there, that adds up really quickly, and it's really heartbreaking when you have those conversations with families in the junior year of high school, and the kids have said, I've gone through all this, I love this, I want to do this, and the family said, that's not on the table for you, I'm sorry. We have that happening more and more, but if we start that conversation in kindergarten, imagine the impact we can have if it starts there and says, it doesn't matter what that decision is going to be that we have to make in high school as we explore all these things, but the roadmap to get there. The second thing is this dignity of earning that the students embody themselves as they're going through that we're seeing is missing. It's a missing piece. Some of our kids have it, the more they get into community service organizations and things. But what it means to, we have a lot of, no, I don't want a handout, no, I don't, no, this isn't a handout, you're earning this. You're doing the things that trigger these incentives to teach you that, wow, I'm empowered to make these decisions and earn this money for myself, and it's mine. And there's amazing statistics with the correlation with success and persistence later on that we're looking at. So it's compelling, it's very compelling. Other states are doing projects like this. In Virginia, I don't know, for whatever reason, because they seem to be spearheading the academic career planning process. I can't believe they haven't done this yet. So we're jumping on, we're saying, let's show you how this is done. And then, I don't have a doubt that the state's going to pick this thing up because it's just so powerful with what it will provide students and families for later. So
The other question that I usually have is, who's going to pay for this? Because I would want it to be.
Not the school system.
So it's a good thing, it's a good question, right?
It is a good question.
Especially your board member, it's a good question. How are we going to pay for this? And the answer is, the taxpayer's not. This is independent. And so there's no good reason to say no to such an opportunity. And we're just very fortunate to have it in our community.
Actually, Shannon's comment reminded me of something I should have mentioned before. There's been a lot of discussion lately about the number of foster kids that are basically shipped somewhere else. And so we have been discussing that, and we think that it would be possible for us to keep those kids in this program because they'll have education plans wherever they are, and those education plans have to be reported back here anyway. So we could figure out a way to link with them. So in terms of the sense of personal self-worth and agency and so forth, for those kids in particular, they are rewarded every time they do whatever the benchmarks are. That's keeping a connection with the community, but also reinforcing their good decisions.
and that information wouldn't be shared because of those Chinese walls you said in the
No, I don't
software.
need to know this.
But we would know because we have students working on their IEPs. We have students working on goals in these foster care plans that we can't share that, of course not. But that's super important to the students who are going through that and the families at that point in time because that is the difference between achieving and not, depending on if they meet their goals and re-entering or graduating out of a certain program, different things. So we would know those issues and only report back whether or not were your incentive goals met. Check. That's that point of view. So it wouldn't be, what are all the goals, and then we wouldn't get into the weeds that much. So that would protect everything.
Is it still the target to try to kick things off in the fall or not? We might not make
It depends on how the pledges flow.
Right.
I think realistically at this point it's not going to happen at all. It's probably going to happen at the end of that semester or the beginning of the next semester. I think that's would be more realistic. As I said, I don't want us to jump out there if we don't basically have money in the bank.
And I am interested in applying for a PATH technical assistance grant to do a feasibility and technical assistance with some of those legalities, the plans, and the MOUs we'll have to have in place just to vet them out and make sure. And they have grants that will support that. So if we see something flowing through, that's what I plan to do probably with this partnership, just to make sure it protects everyone's interests. So that money, if approved, I don't know, but I'm going to apply for one.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Last but not least, Assistant Superintendent Carol Johnson will come up and give you an update about the annual plan for special education and also the reason you had to amend the agenda, which is accessing new funding sources for a new program. So,
New funds are always great.
I like new funds.
Yes. So thank you for the opportunity to present to you on the special education annual plan as well as our request for the Part B flow-through grant. Just a quick reminder on the first slide, the purpose of the grant is to help us implement the provisions of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Improvement Act of 2004. And then we are required as a school division to demonstrate our funding eligibility and to complete and submit the special education annual plan and application for federal funding each year. So moving forward, we have currently scheduled for the Part B, Section 611, which is for special education funds, a total of $220,654, which is the projected amount based on last year's allotment. With that, we'll continue to fund 2 paraprofessionals and all of their benefits. We'll provide partial funding for our school psychologist position. We'll continue funding for physical therapy, occupational therapy for special education students. We will continue to fund counseling services through students' IEPs. 25% of the executive director of special education, and those benefits will be paid for through this fund. There is a private school set-aside that is required of $7,831.90. That is money that we're required to keep kind of on hold in case we need to provide services to students who attend private school. School students count with that also. So that amount is usually based on the number of students that we have identified who are special education as well as in a private school or a home school, and it usually balances out to like $1,700, $1,800 per home school or private school student. And finally, we will provide funding for materials and supplies with whatever is left over. We also have a section in that grant for early childhood special education, and that will be for $6,741, a request to help fund related services for occupational and for physical therapy, as well as materials and supplies that are specific to the little ones. So that's the grant in an overview. The grant has simplified a lot over the last couple of years, so it's basically approving how the funds are allocated. At this time, we do update kind of the annual status of where we're at with special education. The Special Education Advisory Committee has had 4 meetings this year. The first meeting was an overview of our annual report from last year. Our next meeting in November was an overview of the dyslexia reading program at the elementary school. And then in January, we had a presentation by the Independent Life Skills class at the elementary school. And then last month, we had a presentation on the services available through the Department of Aging and Rehabilitative Services. And also the advisory board approved the request for the flow-through grant as is required. We are hoping to have an additional meeting this year, which would be on May the 1st in conjunction with Commit to be Fit. We want to host an autism walk that we've been trying to get together for a couple of years. So we have set a date, we have requested facilities use of the track, and we are going to be walking a mile with students and families in recognition of autism awareness. So our accomplishments for this current school year: we did meet our expectations on the special education performance report. This is based on information from 2016 and 2017. And this always makes me nervous because we are in 2018-19. So when I'm looking at data from 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, we met it then, or we didn't meet it then, so where are we now? So on the second bullet, it said that in 2016-17, we did not meet the reading and math SOL requirements for our students with disabilities. However, what I did was check where we're at now in comparison to where we were then, and I'm happy to report that we have shown improvement since then. We still would not meet the benchmark. I think last year's reading results were a 53% for our special education students. The state has identified 66% pass rate for our special education students, which is a very worthy goal for us to try to attain indeed. But I'm happy to see that we are making the progress in the right direction. Also, the percentage of students who are graduating with a standard or advanced diploma has improved since that 2016-17 report. So, all in all, we met the expectations with the exception of those SOL pass rates and that standard diploma requirement. but we are well on our way to improving in those areas now. We also this year have more students receiving the Orton-Gillingham reading instruction. We have 18 students at the elementary school who are participating in that this year, with the special education teachers reporting increased sight word reading ability and increased ability in spelling. So we're feeling really good about that program. We do now have a sensory lab room at the elementary school where special needs students can go to get some additional physical stimulation, sensory stimulation, go take a break if they need to. So we're pleased with that. We also implemented an independent life skills class at the elementary school this year, who presented to you earlier this year. And we also have this year a job skills class at the high school, which is being hosted by the early steps of the Department of Rehabilitative Services program. They begin working with students at the age of 14, so they actually come in and work during one of our flex periods on a monthly basis with special needs students to help them with those job skills. So in looking ahead, our membership and attendance is still an issue. Although we had 4 meetings this year, our attendance was very low with those meetings. We did it in conjunction with the schools at the elementary school, with them hosting the meeting with the students and the parents, and we tried the same thing at the high school, and our attendance at these meetings, we're still struggling with it. So we'll continue to forge ahead. We are looking to increase the leadership of the schools in leading these meetings so that we can have more student involvement and hopefully get more parents to come out. We love to integrate our efforts with Commit to Be Fit, upcoming Autism Walk, and any opportunities that we can get. And then we also will be looking ahead to the Regional Special Education Program, which I will attempt to explain to you in a somewhat coherent manner. So proposed membership for next year. As you can see, I based this off of the people who were in attendance at the meetings this past year. So we've had 2 consistent parent members, 1 consistent teacher representative, and then Ms. Sarah Rhodes and myself serving as the consultant. So we'll continue to beat the bushes to see if we can get some more people interested. So any questions on the flow-through grant application or special education services before we wade into the regional special education program overview? Okay, well, when the state released their budget funds this past cycle, there was a line in the budget for funds for special education regional funding for $51,216 that Dr. Rimsley and I looked at that because it had currently been zero. And we're like, oh boy, we got $51,000. What exactly was that for? So, we just did a little happy dance. And around that same time, I was contacted by the special education director over in Fauquier County, who started talking to me that he wanted to work with us on a regional school program agreement, and we were gonna, partner up on this, and our superintendents have been in collaboration on this, and my head started spinning around. So all of these little pieces were kind of out there lying in the wind, and then I started getting some information from Department of Education that I had to submit. You always have an application that you need to submit for something. So made my phone call to Department of Education, and then the picture started to come into focus. So this whole regional special education program idea is similar to PREP. And I know that we have at least 3 people who were here when we belonged to the Piedmont Regional Education Program. And we had to travel to Charlottesville, go to these meetings. We actually had an agreement with them where we would send a student, usually 1 student a year, because it was very expensive to send a student there. And so we were in partnership with them as far as a regional program. Well, when the my new best friend at BDO, he explained that to me. I wasn't exactly thrilled because the prep concept wasn't one of the favorite things that we did. But what I found out was that there are funds that are there for us to access this current school year that we never knew about, that are beyond this $51,000. So he explained to me that if I fill out this handy-dandy application that he had all of the other school divisions fill out, and I think we were the last ones to do it, so I was like, okay. If we filled this out, that we could get some extra money for this coming school year. I think it was around $60,000. So in order to do that, we have to have a program in our school that serves students who have intensive special education needs. They have specific disabilities that usually require intensive special education services, and they receive more than 85% in their school day of special education services. So that's the criteria for being eligible to receive these services. So we were able to identify a group of students within our school division that met this criteria. So based on that, I was able to complete an application and submit it to the Department of Education, and hopefully they're supposed to give us a semester's worth of reimbursement back for the services that we are already providing for this highly intensified group of students. Okay, but when I fill out that application, I am supposed to be doing this in conjunction with another school division, such as our regional special education program. So therein lies the reason that we're requesting you to sign an agreement to be part of a regional special education program. So if you...
Just with Fauquier.
Just with Fauquier.
And
So-
Faulkner's doing the same thing.
Fauquier
Just
is
with
doing the same thing. I don't know if they're doing it tonight. They had their school board meeting last night because I was in questioning their special education director about this. They ended up postponing their meeting, and I asked him why, and he said he thought it was because of the UVA game last night. And I sent back and told him, you've got to be kidding me. So I don't know if they're meeting tonight or when, but they are doing the same thing. So
My
we're...
cousin is a big UVA fan, therefore.
I understand. So we are required to be a member in partnership with another county. Basically, this agreement, and I've made sure that I ran this wording by my friend over at Fauquier to be sure that I'm explaining this correctly. This agreement sets up the parameters for a true regional school if we should ever decide to set up such a facility with Fauquier County. So if we want to set up like our own Ivy Creek School, like they have in Charlottesville, and do that as partners with Fauquier County, then we would work through all of the requirements that are in the agreement tonight. We would have we're required to have the full board anyway, but we would, have the physical agents and the oversight and all of that that's explained in the agreement. Until that time, when we decide to build our own facility between the two counties, each county will maintain their own funds. So Fauquier is going to be receiving funds into their school division based on their students that they're serving. That money stays within their budget. We'll get our little sum, and it is a little sum because of our local composite index, and that will stay within our budget. What my best friend at DOE explained to me was that all of these regional special education funds have been tied up over the course of the last 10, 20 years by 8 or 9 school divisions, big school divisions. They've had all of the funds, and they haven't needed these funds to run their special education programs. And so people have become aware of this, and they want to more equitably distribute these funds so that all of the localities are getting to share them. So, we're kind of trying to get the back end of the train to catch up with the front end of the train. They got those funds released so that we can access them, but now we're kind of dotting our I's and crossing our T's in order to say that we have a regional program. So we will have a board, and the board will meet 4 times a year. It would be one member from our board to serve a 2-year term, oversight by Fauquier County Public Schools. I'm assuming I'll probably have to be there, their special education director, and I'm not really sure what we would meet about, but we would be a board. So if I have explained that anywhere along a line that is understandable, it is requested as an action item.
Well done.
Very good.
Oh, and just one
What?
last,
Cheryl,
yes.
with our agreement with Madison County, we're able to use their composite index to some degree, or
For supplemental basic.
for supplemental basic aid. I wonder if, in your talking with your best friend in special ed, if you could talk about that type of a thing, if we could use Faulkner's composite index to calculate what we get, we
For the
would be
regional
much better off.
This was in the incentive programs, it's not in the supplemental programs.
I understand that, but
There would have to be, General Assembly would have to enact a code for us to be able to act on that. That's how we get our supplemental basic aid under
Right.
that code.
Right.
So if you know some legislators that want to talk about the
well, I mean, if
regional
we
money and
could
incentive
think of a way to
programs,
make that happen, it would be to our benefit,
Yeah.
significant.
And one thing I did neglect to mention, it is my understanding that if we wanted to send one of our students to the special program in Fauquier, it seemed like we could send one of our students for free, maybe reduced price for the other students. So there is a little bit of a benefit to us for participating in here. Anytime we can keep students in public school versus a private day school or residential, it's always a win-win.
They picked us.
And they're so much bigger than we are.
Did they pick us?
They did. I was so excited after I figured out what they were talking about.
They what?
They actually pick them up. We don't have to. Oh, I
They
just read
chose
that.
to team private.
All right, and just a reminder that we will do our autism walk and just a little
May the first,
remembrance
4:30.
that it is Autism Awareness Month.
Still better.
So happy autism awareness. Or it can be anything you want it to be.
Daryl, thanks for completing all those forms. It's a heavy load every year, and appreciate that.
8 years now.
You're counting. Yes. Hey.
So we have to have a member of this board.
This
on
board.
that.
One of us.
But not Charlottesville.
For 2 years.
We're probably just going to drive to Warrenton for
No,
coffee.
fall here.
Yeah.
Right.
It looks like it's all beginnings, which is necessary. We expect.
All right.
And that completes the
Good.
superintendent's
All right, thank you.
report.
Is there a report from the headwaters representative?
There is a report from Headwaters. The Headwaters Board met on March 18th, and there was an extensive discussion about the school budget and the declining enrollment and the implications for the bigger implication for the county and how that would fit into Headwaters planning going forward in terms of their objectives. So that was a useful discussion as they're in a planning period right now. The after-school enrichment program began its final session I think on the 25th of March, and there are 26 students in the session, and it runs until almost the end of the school year. And then they have a scholarship committee that met on April 4th, and they're going to be recommending scholarships at the next board meeting this coming Monday, which I will not be able to attend. I've asked Ms. Meyer to do that, but we're going to be away on spring break with my family. So. That's all.
Yes?
No, we did meet. Sometimes we do. We discussed the financial report for 2020 budget, approved that budget. And our cost for 8 students will be $52,712. We approved a 2019-20 calendar. And there's going to be a new initiative with Mountain Vista about leasing. Well, right now they lease laptops for every kid. And starting in grade 10 next year, we're going to buy Chromebooks. And we're going to save $24,000 by doing that. So, and then we'll phase that in over a 3-year period of time. The kids that have the laptops, that will stay with them until they graduate. And then we'll go back with grade 10 kids to do the Chromebooks. And Bryce Jones is scheduled to receive an Associate of Science degree.
Really?
LHCC.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure why he was here, but
You knew you were gonna say that.
you knew I was going to say that.
He's been, actually, Bryce has been studying us for several months. For something you're doing.
Doing something.
He's been observing us.
Anyway, we're very proud. Very good. That's it.
Well done, Bryce. All right, I don't think we have any information items for discussion. Do we? Anything I don't know about? Moving on to public comment. Is there anybody in the public who would like to address the board this evening? Anybody? Yes, sir.
I am Kevin Brander. I'm from Wakefield District, and I'm serving today as the Executive Director of Headquarters. Just wanted to add a few more things to Ms. Vine's report. I forgot to tell her earlier today. First thing, the summer course is in high swing. We are getting more and more kids signing up, so we're really excited about that. It's going to be June 17th to the 29th. And we're scheduled to have our final concert at Castleton this year, so it's going to be again this year, so that's very exciting. We're also working on the honor roll field trip, and hopefully we'll have an announcement to make about that reasonably soon. So a lot of exciting stuff happening ahead.
It is exciting. Thank you, Kevin. Anyone else?
Is there a way we can advertise the course program for Headwaters? I haven't seen it on Facebook, but maybe it would be a good place to put it.
We could do Facebook. Have you done Facebook? We did, but it did go out to all parents in Tuesday folders, not that way, but we could do a reminder of that. Sorry.
I'm getting everything that you put out there, so I appreciate it.
I think it's working very well on Facebook. It's how people are functioning, right? It's going to make websites obsolete.
We're definitely getting a lot of views and a lot of likes.
Thanks. All right, moving on to action items. Are there any other public comment? Last chance. Moving on to action items, 8.1, approval of the CTE local plan. Is there a motion to approve the plan as presented this evening?
I so moved.
We have a motion from Ms. Bynum.
Second.
We have a second from Ms. Meyer. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. So ordered. Is there a motion to approve the tech plan as it was presented?
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Grove. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Rubin. Is there any discussion? Thanks for doing that. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. So ordered. And we're going to do these independently, right? We have to do them independently.
Yes.
Approval of the SPED annual plan
So
as it
moved.
was presented. See, we have a motion, Mr. Rubin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Grove. Any discussion? Thanks again. Number 8. All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, no. So ordered. And is there a motion to approve the regional SPED program? Is that a good name for it? Yes.
So moved.
We have a motion, Mr. Rubin. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Grove. Is there any discussion? Beware. The strings that are attached
Yeah.
always scare me.
Well, the way I see it, our
To our
benefit.
It's a win-win.
That's what's
Which
here.
worries me.
Right. Whereas how much it.
Things that are too good to be true.
Yeah.
But there's
Low hanging fruit.
All right.
you give 6 months notice and you can withdraw, so there's an escape clause, which I
Nice, I like that.
We like it. All right. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. And so move the regional SPED program. I mean, there's a piece of paper I floated around with signatures, right? Has everybody signed this thing? This is our document. We all have to sign this thing that goes to above here. Right? It's just the
Is that what
destination.
this is?
Goes to above here.
No, that's there.
All right. Is there any new business this evening?
That's business, right?
There's another one.
Where's the one
Yeah,
that
there's-
goes above here? Only you signed that one.
Yes, I already did. That was the other. That was
Yeah,
the tech
this
plan.
is a business owner
Well, that's the
Yeah.
business owner thing. All right. Only I signed.
rule. Is that on the agenda tonight? It wasn't on the
It
agenda.
was last
We
night.
Last
did
time?
it last,
We
We did it last time, but we never
now
signed
we're
it.
signing.
Are we,
This is.
okay,
This is the tech.
but are we
Voted
gonna
that.
present it to somebody?
When we get the
Next month.
At the next meeting?
Right.
Okay, that's what, I talked to John today, so.
All right. Good. Any new business? The next regularly scheduled school board meeting is May the 14th. On April 22nd, a Monday night at the elementary school.
Yes.
At the elementary school is our public hearing that the supervisors have on the school budget. Please get the message out and have people come and talk because they genuinely are getting a pulse at that meeting.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, April 22nd, it's a Monday night at the elementary school. And also, this board is going to need to meet between now and our next meeting in May. So I need you all to check your calendars. The topic is going to be a closed session related to we have to put together the superintendent's annual assessment, just like we did last year. And so it has to happen between, I'm going to say between April 30th and the following week. So April 30th is Tuesday, whatever the following Tuesday is, well, it would be the 7th of May. So look at that. Or if it doesn't have to be a Tuesday, and Chris, I think your schedule is usually the hardest to hit, so let's make sure that I hear from you. It doesn't have to be tonight. Just know that
So
we're
we're
going
doing
to,
it
and we will make an
at my
announcement.
house?
Well, we did it at the school board office last time.
Okay, that'd be fine.
So anyway, we'll just come up with a date, and we'll make an announcement so we have proper notification. But we have to do that before the May 14th meeting, so we have a finished document by that meeting. That's our goal. Okay? The only other announcement is this is Larry Grove's birthday. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday.
Yesterday, and so that's why the fruit's up here.
3/4 of a century.
We're gonna 3/4 of a century. Wow. So we're gonna have a motion, gonna close session. We're gonna recess so that you can go home, but you're gonna grab some fruit before you go, right? Just
Yeah.
help us out with the fruit plate. And so I think we're ready to go into closed session. Larry, you got a motion?
I move the board convene in closed session for the following purpose: discuss and consider the appointment of staff members for volunteering coaching positions, request for sick leave bank, retirement of professional positions, and discussion of superintendent's evaluation contract pursuant to code 2.23711A1.
All right, we have a motion, Mr. Groves, or second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Uben, all in favor, aye? Opposed, no. So what, we're in closed session. So, just so you know, we're gonna be in closed session. It's gonna take, I'm gonna say 30 minutes. And then we'll come back in, and it'll be open. We'll have motions related to whatever happened during closed session, most likely, and then we'll adjourn. If you wanna hang around, if you don't understand. All right? But get some